Hey, everybody. Rob Schulz here, Austin Smith. We are live. Just going to talk about some things to do with this COVID, right, Austin?
That's right. Definitely in some unprecedented times here. So maybe it's leading us to do some unprecedented things with our first stab at the podcast and a recording. So here we go.
Yeah. So Zoom has become our best friend slash worst enemy, depends on the hour. But for the most part, that's what we're using as our super high tech software to try to get some messaging out to you guys. And you know, we're trying to keep super positive in the way we communicate right now, because if we let ourselves, it'd be real easy to get negative in a hurry, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Um, you know, we see bad news all the time all around us, especially these days. You pay attention to the news. There's not a whole lot of positive information. Um, so see if we can bring some of that positivity around.
Yeah. So what have you got to say, Austin, that's positive right now? What are you thinking?
Well, personally, when I think of essential businesses, I'm really, really ready for the hairdresser to become an essential business because the hair is getting to a point where I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm ready for that to be marked an essential business. That's going to be one of the first stops I make whenever we're allowed to, whenever they open up, I guess. Yeah, I'm going to be one of the first in line.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I was playing around with my beard trimmer, trying to see if I could get something cleaned up kind of around here. Hasn't worked very well for me. So
That's not a shot in the dark I'm ready to take quite yet.
yeah, well, interesting times for sure. But no, one of the things that's been fun to watch is just kind of the way a lot of different companies have responded to this crisis. And I mean, I think there have been and there will be some real winners. What are some of them that you can think of, kind of have been the winners from a company standpoint, Austin?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is kind of some of the major chains, as well as the grocery stores. The Walmart, Target, and then the national chains of grocery stores. And overnight it seems like almost they've completely kind of revamped the way some of them are ran. And I was at the personal checkout at Target the other day, and right after someone goes and someone sanitizes it, and then you step up, and so they've really stepped up to the plate to make customers feel welcome and feel safe, and where they're not going to get sick being there. All the grocery stores doing that. How quickly they tried to ramp up the supply chain on all the stuff that it was a mass exodus of all the stuff flying off the shelves, that everyday products. And so we really seen kind of the supply chains step up to the plate, and they're really working around the clock to make sure that everybody at home and everybody's trying to stay safe can get everything that they need. So that's kind of some of the stuff that comes to mind up front. Is those people taking care of the essential things that we need.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And some of the things that like you and I need are support on the phone, whether it's through our main vendor, which is TD Ameritrade, or I was just thinking of MassMutual. We have a large 401k plan with MassMutual, and a couple of times I've gone up to Springfield and toured their huge facility where they just have all these people on phones, there in an office building. Well, practically overnight, they had to convert that over to where these people are answering these calls in their homes. And it's just amazing to me how effective MassMutual, TD Ameritrade, and so many others have been at making that huge change and making it work.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the companies kind of staying in their own lane and kind of doing what they do, but finding a new way to do it. And then there's the other round of companies that are, stepping out of what they do every day and what they normally do to see, so they can step up to the plate and see how they can have their effect on this whole situation. Whether it's different manufacturing companies that are, trying to make masks in different ways, or we talked about some of these the liquor companies. Trying to make hand sanitizer.
Right. Yeah.
Just
not
all
that
different things.
not that liquor's not in demand right now either, though, right?
That's for sure, for certain, I'm sure. But but there's just all these different companies kind of stepping up to the plate and seeing which ways they can provide in this time of need. And I think that's something, I wrote a little piece about a few weeks ago. I think that's some of the things that's going to be remembered long term. Some of these companies are, it's good for their publicity, obviously, to be the ones on the front page of, they're doing whatever they can to help the good fight. But it's also, people are going to realize them. I want to, kind of support some of those companies longer term who, kind of had the society's greater interest in mind.
Yeah, no, they're good PR opportunities for sure through all of this. Just by doing the right thing for humanity, it's really cool. Certainly, one of the industries that very close to us that have been affected tremendously from that standpoint would be the banks, right?
That's right. We've seen. Well, I guess up front, first of all, what the legislation that came through and what they were really kind of tasking the banks with doing through kind of the Small Business Association was a monumental task. There's so many moving parts and such great demand kind of overnight once the legislation came through that all these banks were immediately overwhelmed. Which I'm not sure there's really any way for them to be ready at that level. But then kind of the response, you've seen a little bit of a different response from some of the larger national banks versus kind of the more community banks. I know there's been some firsthand experiences, and there's been the names in the news that have kind of struggled and maybe not seemed the most welcoming to new customers or new people trying to get help with their business. And then we've maybe seen a little bit of the opposite kind of on the community bank side.
No, it's no question. It was just one of those opportunities, or what we call moments of truth, right? Anytime you have a relationship, whether it's a personal relationship or a business relationship, those relationships either get strengthened or they diminish in moments of truth and in times like these. And I'll tell you, my banker did a great job. I don't know how many hundreds of loans they've had to process, but he's done a great job, Brent Newsom over at Frost Bank, of just trying to keep everybody informed. I would get an email from him like at midnight on the weekend. Obviously he was putting forth the effort, and that's all you can ask for. And it's really cool to have great relationships like that come through for you in times of crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of the work that they've done, and really kind of on both ends, really kind of just seeing the resilience of the private sector. It's magnified that's, kind of in this time, the government was leaning on a little bit, to help roll out all this stuff. It's nothing that could have been done, without the private sector.
Yeah, no question. And, there's obviously been a lot of talk about the stimulus package and how crucial it is. And I believe it is crucial. But at the end of the day, where are we really going to find the true glue for this recovery? It's going to be in what these businesses, whether they're small or large, how they react, how they innovate, and how they just do what needs to get done to succeed.
Yeah, and part of that is we've seen testing come along for vaccines and kind of potential solutions more longer term is, at a rate that I'm not sure we've ever seen before. We've got, countless companies working, around the clocks with, their different scientists to try and find a solution, because this is a time where, it's obviously really needed.
Yeah, no, and the medical and pharma industry, we're all relying on those guys. They're going to be the true heroes of this. And you can look at all the other stuff the government does, but really this thing comes to an end when we have a medical solution. And Those guys are doing great stuff, and maybe even some of what they're doing and the way they're streamlining things and so forth. There's an opportunity for that to carry forward, not only in the medical profession, but then probably also in other areas as well. Where do you see? I'm trying to think. Where do you see that happening? Where we'll see a carry forward?
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things I wanted to, kind of hit on next and ask you kind of opinions as well. We're seeing presently how this is affecting the current day situations of a lot of different companies, and how they're all stepping up to the plate and kind of maybe doing what they can in different areas, whether it's donating, whether it's manufacturing companies building masks, or other things in times of need. But what effects long term do we think we may see? And one thing I can think of is are some of these businesses going to sit down and realize, well, during this time, we really saw everyone was at home working, but, productivity with people were still getting things done. There were still, you can get on a Zoom call and have a team meeting if you have a question, all these instant messaging systems that are out there. You can quickly get a hold of anybody you need, ask them a quick question. And maybe you don't need all the office space. I think that's, something that may get looked at on the backside of this is, and, we don't need 100% of the office space. Some of these large companies, if they can reduce what they're, spending on office space and rent by, 20%, that's a large number for them. So I think there's definitely some efficiencies that are going to come out of the other side of this as well. That's we don't know exactly what that's going to be seen, but I can see definitely on the people efficiently working from home could be a potential solution for some people who don't need some of those expenses for rent anymore.
Not only that, but since all of our kids are learning how to do schoolwork at home, I mean, are snow days a thing of the past? Are we necessarily going to send our kids off to college as much as we used to, or are some of these technologies going to carry forward to where more learning even happens in the home? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I guess that's not something I had really thought about. I know you've got a senior in high school at home.
Right.
Probably you're seeing that a little more firsthand. I was someone who I really valued kind of going to classes and learning, and I learned well that way. But also in studying for some stuff after being in school, it was all online, and I was able to kind of click through that well also. So that's interesting. I hadn't, snow days is an interesting point,
Yeah.
and you can get ahead of it and say, maybe it looks like we're going to have bad weather on Thursday. Why don't we all prepare on Wednesday? And so, it's not a last minute decision, and you can just say, hey, we're going to be home tomorrow. We still expect to get, all this information and learning done. That's an interesting point.
No, I think, having efficiencies there in education, not as much commute time maybe as people work from home a little bit more. Certainly, I think long-term business travel is going to suffer or be down, however you want to look at it, because, I mean, one of the first realizations we had, right? Remember, we had a client in the office who's pretty up there with one of the larger companies around here. And he said that the efficiencies that they had seen initially were amazing. They didn't have just people out all over the place, traveling different places. They were just at their desk or at their computer in their home, just getting it done. Remember that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I said, wasn't going around to meet people and shake hands and kind of do that kind of the business, but was more, in front of their office, getting things done, making decisions. I'm sure that's definitely, especially when everyone is now, they were forced, they didn't have an option. They were forced to hop on a Zoom call and meet with everybody. And now that there's a very viable solution, where previously it might have been, well, that's a solution, but we've always done it business travel. We can still do it that way. Well, that's not an option right now. And, going forward, people may look around and say, we were forced into that option at one point in time, but, it's actually a real solution.
Yeah. Just like, for instance, DoorDash, right? I mean, I'm sure Shelley was telling me the statistics, and now I can't remember them, but they were astounding at the number of people who'd never used DoorDash, for instance, to get their groceries delivered to them. And now I think half the country has at least tried it. 50% of the people out there. How many of those are going to continue with that? They're going to find that they liked it, and they never would have tried it if this crisis hadn't come around. Huge change, right?
Yeah, unless kind of you're forced into change. It's nothing that people would have thought about before, but now it's one of the things that we're all finding out. There's potentially another solution for. Yeah.
So there's a lot of creativity going on. There's a lot of innovation, a lot of change. This is a bad time, right? But there's some good out there as well. And in the business you or I are in, where we're in the investment business, innovation, creation, change, those are the kinds of things that create opportunity, correct?
Absolutely. That's a lot of what we're investing in these companies for. We're investing, for the tomorrow, for the future. We're investing in these companies that they're going to be able to stay ahead of this stuff and know what we want kind of before we know that's what we want. And the innovation and change that we've recognized in the last, month and a half or so, kind of gives a lot of confidence for what may be to come and how we can react to really anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think we're not out of the woods by any stretch, but there's some cool stuff going out there. And for those of you who are watching, if you have thought of a company or an innovation or just somebody out there taking advantage, I guess, of a bad situation to innovate and to do things better, we'd love to hear about it. Just kind of email us and let us know, and we can share it out on our Facebook group, which is Thoughts on Things Financial, which is in Facebook, or also in our email list. So I'd love to hear from folks about that. I don't know, kind of what else have we got or to touch on. You have anything else on your notes?
No, that was kind of the two main points we wanted to kind of talk through is, what businesses are kind of being able to do now and what it may look like long term. And I think we nailed those things and reviewing them. And I just think it's really cool to see kind of what companies have done and where it can go from here.
Yeah, and the opportunity that creates for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, thanks for listening to us on kind of this first shot at innovation for us, communicating in a different way. And we hope to do this again, maybe in another week or so. Hopefully we'll be better at it. Right, Austin?
Right. For episode 1, there's only one way to go. Get better at it from here.
That's right. All right. Everybody take care and stay safe.